Hello, everybody. I am Marlisha. Welcome to my booktube channel, Marlisha's Meanderings. I know it's been a long time since I've recorded, since before Christmas. Things got really busy with Christmas, and then January brought whatever it is that's been making the rounds, and I was sick for a little over 2 weeks, but I'm feeling better now. So here I am. I had wanted to start with a year in review for 2025. However, I think that'll have to be pushed off until later in the month, maybe even in February sometimes. And I also wanted to do an upcoming for 2026. Again, that will be pushed back along with book hauls for Christmas and birthdays and all that kind of stuff. So what I wanted to do today is a book review on Waverly by Sir Walter Scott. Some of you may have seen Talia Nerds Out, her review on Waverly, not the most positive review on the book. And I was going to wait until I actually finished the book to review it, but I couldn't finish it, okay? Before I get into the rather negative review I have for this, I do want to say that I loved Ivanhoe, okay? Sir Walter Scott, his Ivanhoe was amazing. I ranked it right there with almost on a par with The Virginian. That's how much I liked that book. The Virginian was my favorite book for 2025, and I ranked Ivanhoe just below it. So I had high hopes for Waverly. I read it because, well, the reason was twofold. We had done a buddy read, actually a group read, genre books and Ghost Readers in the Sky, and I can't remember Deb's channel name, but Deb's and a couple other people, we all did a group read, and we really enjoyed Ivanhoe. And we were so excited about it that we decided to do Rob Roy in May. Okay, that leaves a big gap between January, or actually November is when we did Ivanhoe, and May. And they had been, some of the people have been talking about Waverly and how good it was. It's Sir Walter Scott's first novel, as far as I can tell, but it was given really good reviews by people in the group that I respect and still respect, despite the fact that I don't agree with them for this particular novel. Talia and I decided to do a buddy read for Waverly for January. I think if we said January and February, however long it took. We weren't in any real hurry. We had from January to May to do this. Okay. I am going to refer to my notes because I was keeping notes on Storygraph because I wasn't really that impressed. Okay. Now I read what I read of Waverly on a Kindle. This is my daughter's book. Okay. So this is a really nice version of Waverly. It's a very nice hardcover book, and the print is really nice in it. I don't know if there are any. Yeah, there are some illustrations in this. Let me see if I can show you one of. What's a little insert here from the Heritage Club, whatever that is. Here's a picture. Let me see if I can show it to you. So it does have illustrations. It's a really, really nice copy of the book. And all I can say is I'm really disappointed that the story didn't live up to the promise of the book. Okay, like I said, I want to say that I don't dislike Sir Walter Scott. I really loved Ivanhoe. But this story, he must have improved by leaps and bounds, because I started reading it and I was telling Talia, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it through this book. It's got description upon description upon description ad nauseum. And I knew that that's part of his style. He does do a lot of description, almost to the point where it's a character in its own right, and almost to the point where it overtakes the story. So I knew that that was going to be part of the reading. I was expecting that. I wasn't expecting it to go on and on and on. I mean, just interminably on and on and on. I'm not a big description person. I'm a big fan of kind of like, think of the drawings that are kind of a few lines, like pencil drawings that are just a few lines, and you can see what it is. You don't have to have everything. That's not to say I don't like color and all that, but in a storytelling, I don't want the descriptions to get in the way of the story. And in my mind, the descriptions do get in the way with the story, of the story. The characters, the first 8 chapters, I was almost bored to tears. There was no real characterization. It was very one or maybe two dimensional. It was very difficult to determine what was happening. And I know that maybe I don't have the best background for this. I think it's set in the Jacobite, I think that's how you say it, era for the Scottish history, and I don't know a whole lot about that. But one would think that maybe, if that in mind, the author might kind of have a little more clarification. With he had clarification, but it didn't clarify. It just obscured everything. I felt like I was. I didn't. I felt like I was drowning in quicksand. It was too. I'm a reasonably intelligent person. I was lost. Okay, it's just between the descriptions, the characters that I didn't care about in the least for quite a while, and the fact that a couple of the characters just go off on this language that's impossible to understand. And I love languages. It was a little easier for me when they went into the French. I could kind of maybe sometimes get an idea of that. I had 2 years of high school French and I lived in Belgium, so I kind of could sometimes pick out the French. Forget about the Scottish Gaelic. I think it's a bit archaic, and so I don't know for sure, but it seems like it's archaic, and it was just off-putting. I honestly don't like the title character of Waverly. I find him weak. I find him petulant. I find him juvenile. And I understand that this is a coming-of-age story, but I don't know. It wasn't until I met Rose that I really found a character that I could kind of sink my teeth into and kind of like. And she doesn't say much. She's just kind of there. And then I get her and we're whisked off into the Scottish Highlands. And then we meet this person who is bombastic, he's not arrogant. That's not the word I'm looking for. He's just pompous, and he's likable enough, but half the time I don't know what he's saying, and whatever it is they're doing, they're hinting at all this stuff that they're doing, and I understand that you can't just let everybody know they're doing this hush hush thing and you don't want it to get out. But it would be nice if the reader could have an idea of what's going on. Not all the readers are steeped in the history of Scotland and England. Excuse me. So I found that very off-putting. Now, I will say that a couple of the descriptions were very nice. I love the description of the waterfall. I don't know why there had to be so much of it. I did like some of the poetry. I would read that out loud. But honestly, I tried so hard. I really tried very hard to like this. I just couldn't. I mean, I'm going to look at my notes for a second here. I hope I don't offend anybody, but this is my honest opinion, okay? I reached 44% of the book. Well, first of all, the action didn't even start till I was like at chapter 8, okay? According to my notes here, it was about chapter 8 when things started to move a little bit. I'm not sure if that's exactly when the first scene in the pub happened, where they had an altercation and you kind of see some spark of patriotism and things. But that's where I thought, oh, okay, maybe we're going to see, there's glimmers of what Sir Walter Scott showed in Ivanhoe. So I thought, okay, maybe we're hitting to it, because the first eight chapters, I could have just, maybe it could have been condensed into 3 and made more clear. But the first 8 chapters, I almost chuck the book right then, except that, in fact, if Waverly had been my first book, if I hadn't read Ivanhoe, I would have chucked it and I would never read Ivanhoe, okay? So chapter 8 started to pick up, chapter 9, and I was, I kept pushing on, pushing on, pushing on. It was very difficult. I'd see glimmers of what I saw in Ivanhoe, enough to make me push on. And by the time I reached chapter 28, I had made, according to my notes, I had come to the opinion that it's definitely not up to the caliber of Ivanhoe, but I was willing to give it a break because it was Sir Walter Scott's first book, so I was going to continue reading and see if I was going to finish it. By this point, my daughter had already stopped. She didn't understand why I was going to keep going, and I just don't like to quit things. I really don't, so I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt and push on. So I kept going, and at 44% of the book, things were starting to happen. He's moving away from the pompous man and his daughter Flora, who I liked. I liked Flora, but she's kind of odd because she kind of pulls you in, but she's got a distance, so you never really connect with her. And I'm not really sure why she's there, except maybe to spur Waverly onward. I'm not sure why he should care enough. I know he's kind of fallen head over heels, maybe, spoiler alert, but she doesn't return his, there are spoilers here. I'm sorry, guys, if you haven't read it. But I don't see the motivation there. It's kind of tenuous. But anyway, he, for various reasons, I'm going to try not to do any more spoilers, okay? For various reasons, he leaves his, the friend of his uncle and moves on to another place. And he's actually jailed at this place. And I was getting to the point, okay, this might be good. We're getting some conflict. We're getting some tension. And I get to 47% of the book, open that chapter, and it's like I'm reading about Scotland, and now I'm reading about, I don't know, flowers. It was like totally, completely unrelated. Now, to be fair, I only read about a page and a half, but guys, I was done. I had tried so hard to like this book. I tried so hard to give it a fair chance, and so many times it disappointed me. And at this point, they could have written in the next 2 pages after what I've read the novel of the century, and I wouldn't have cared. I just was done. I do apologize to the people who love it so much. And, all I can say is I did try to have an open mind, and I hope this doesn't color anybody too much, their opinion before they've read Waverly, if they're looking to read it. But I just wanted to get on here and put my opinion because I did not finish it. I DNF'd it at almost 50%. Guys, if the book doesn't grab me by 50%, there's something wrong, okay? At least for me, there's something wrong there. I wish I could understand. Please, somebody, as Talia said, please tell me what I've missed. Tell me why I should like this book, because I don't get it. I really and truly don't. And I know in our little our little Sir Walter Scott group, Ty and I are in the minority as far as I can tell, but it's just I don't get it. I don't get it. All I can say is that, as I mentioned before, had I read Waverly first, I would not have gone any further. The book would have been dumped by chapter 8 or 10, and I would never have gone back to any of Ivanhoe, any more Sir Walter Scott, because Ivanhoe in my brain because I liked it so much. I'm looking forward to Rob Roy with a little bit of trepidation, because I feel like that's going to make or break Sir Walter Scott's reputation in my mind. Is Ivanhoe a fluke, or is he really, does he have the staying power that Ivanhoe promises? I mean, the talent that Ivanhoe promises. I'm going to see how much of an improvement there is in Rob Roy. I think Rob Roy is the next book in the Waverly series, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments below. Um, yeah, I didn't really want to make my first video after Christmas be so negative, but I just, I had to be honest, and I wanted to get something out, and I didn't want to lose the passion, and I didn't want to lose the memory of what I had read and why I didn't like it. If you like descriptions and tons and tons and tons of description, you might like this. If you like archaic language, you might like this. If you don't mind characters that absolutely do not engage, you might like this. If you're more of a plot person, but I'm sorry, I didn't see a plot. I don't know what the plot was. I think it was to get to a rebellion and go from there. But it took so long that it just felt like meandering, okay, or blathering or something. Yeah. I mean, if you've read Waverly and you disagree with me, please put it down in the comments below and let me know where I'm wrong. Nicely. I'm a nice person, okay? Please, nicely. Tell me why I'm wrong. If you agree with me, I'd like to hear that too. Just so I can get kind of a feel for what other people think about Waverly in particular, and Sir Walter Scott in general. Okay, so anyway, thank you for meandering with me, um, and I hope to see you again the next time I record. If I haven't angered you too much, God bless, and I will be back with booktubes and tags and things like that, which I am currently very behind on. So I hope you'll join me then. Have a wonderful day. Bye.